The Iranian president meets Prime Minister al-Halaqi and praises the steadfastness of the Syrian people against the most dangerous terrorists in the world. The Syrian army continues its qualitative operations in the countrysides of Damascus, Idlib and Hama, crushing the terrorists. The Zionist forces of occupation and settlers storm Al-Aqsa Mosque again and continue their efforts to Judaize Galilee. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. During his meeting with the Syrian Prime Minister al-Halaqi in Tehran, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani praised the steadfastness of the Syrian people against internal and external pressures. The Iranian president stressed that the most dangerous terrorists in the world have gathered today in Syria, pointing out that terrorism and extremism are the most dangerous problems in the region and everyone should fight against them. President Rouhani emphasized that the Iranian government is doing its best to stop the war on Syria and to prevent its being spread to other countries in the region, and has asked the neighboring countries to boost their efforts to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people. For his part, Prime Minister Dr. al-Halaqi expressed Syria's happiness to see Iran's great success in dealing with its nuclear file, which will have positive effects on the region, including the possibility of solving the crisis in Syria. In Damascus, terrorists fired a mortar shell at the French school in El-Mezzi. The director of the school, Michel Lauberat, said the shell fell on the roof, causing material damage, but there were no casualties among the students. In the Homs countryside, a terrorist gang detonated an explosive device under the gas line between At-Taiba and Homs to the northwest of Palmyra. This caused the gas factory to stop work to supply the gas network with 3.5 million cubic meters of gas every day. A source in the oil ministry asserted that the specialized workshops were repairing the damage in order to enable the station to resume work as soon as possible. He pointed out that these crimes cause a reduction in the fuel supplies to the electric power stations. This would increase the hours of rationalization. The Syrian Arab Army unit killed and wounded a number of terrorists in several quarters, villages and towns around Homs and destroyed their various types of weapons and ammunition. A military source told Sana that the army killed and wounded several terrorist groups in the vicinity of the National Hospital. The army also destroyed an anti-aircraft gun in the village of Beit al-Agha to the west of Al-Brej and killed and wounded many terrorists who were trying to attack innocent people in the village of Al-Duwair. The military source added that the army inflicted heavy casualties among the terrorist groups in the village of Talatlas and in the areas of Al-Rastan and Telbise. In Nebek, in the Damascus countryside, the Syrian army continued its advance against terrorists. The army captured a terrorist hideout that was being used to store explosive devices. Units of the Syrian army continued to chase the terrorists in El-Qalamoun. In the early morning, they attacked terrorist hideouts and killed many of them. During the advance on Nebek, the army found a store of explosive devices and detonated them. A few hours later, Nebek was announced as a safe area containing no more terrorists. In Hama, a military source asserted that our valiant armed forces confronted a terrorist gang to the southern entry to the countryside. A number of terrorists were killed and wounded, including Omar Ibrahim al-Dirbas and Firas Awad. In the town of Mu'taram in the Idlib countryside, a unit of our valiant armed forces confronted a terrorist gang that was trying to infiltrate to the secure villages in the governorate, inflicting heavy casualties among the terrorists and destroying their weapons. Across large olive orchards along the Syro-Turkish borders, terrorist gangs tried to infiltrate into the secure villages of the Idlib countryside. When the terrorists tried to attack military points in the area, units of the army confronted them and inflicted heavy casualties among them. The dead terrorists, including Abu Zaid of Tunisia and Abu Yusuf of Libya. The terrorist gangs tried to control the highway between Ariha and Idlib in order to strangle the two safe towns. Their attempts were foiled when the Syrian forces confronted them. In Lebanon, the toll of the clashes in Tripoli, north of the country, has risen in the last few hours to 6 people killed and 29 injured, including 8 from the Lebanese army. Lebanese national news agency said that Tripoli witnessed fierce clashes yesterday, where rocket-propelled guns and mortars, in addition to machine guns, were used. The agency added that the Lebanese army units, which were deployed in the area, have retaliated to the gunfire in an attempt to contain the clashes, pointing out that sniping returned to affect any moving target on the international highway of Tripoli, which is still closed. In a new and dangerous development in Tripoli, an extremist group called itself the Organization of the so-called Blood Guardians threatened to cut off roads and to paralyze the city. On the other hand, the Lebanese army arrested one of the fighting leaders in Tripoli along with a number of armed men who were with him. In occupied Palestine, Zionist settlers supported by Israeli forces stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque while worshippers and students were in the mosque. They imposed strong restrictions on them in an attempt to force them to leave the mosque. Strong tension prevailed in the mosque when a Zionist soldier began to beat one of the Palestinian guards who tried to prevent the Zionist fanatics from performing Talmudic prayers in the mosque. On the other hand, the Zionist paper Haaretz said that the Zionists were preparing a new plot to Judaize Galilee under the pretext of creating demographic balance with the Palestinians. The Zionists are planning to absorb 100,000 new settlers in the heart of Galilee in the area of Al-Batuf plain. In Iraq, 12 people were killed and 25 others injured in a terrorist blast that targeted a funeral procession in Diyala Governorate. A military source said that a suicide bomber blew off his explosive belt in a graveyard where a funeral was held east of Baquba, killing dozens and injuring others. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said that Iran's recent achievements in Geneva were far beyond the recognition of Iran's right to obtain peaceful nuclear energy. In a speech upon meeting the Administrative Council of Bushehr, President Rouhani said that during the next few months, the Iranian people will see the results of the agreement over Iran's nuclear program, affirming that the international atmosphere concerning Iran has become more positive and his country is moving towards development. Iran's Assistant Foreign Minister for Legal and International Affairs, Abbas Araghchi, said that Iran will return to the starting point concerning its nuclear program whenever it finds that the other party hasn't abided by its commitments announced during the recent negotiations in Geneva. In a televised interview, Araghchi said that Iran should move with caution, pointing out that the agreement reached by the six-party group and Iran in Geneva cannot be considered as a text which carries obligatory commitments. Araghchi pointed out that the statement issued by the White House about the agreement and the process of uranium enrichment in Iran has no value at all and is nothing but a media farce. And now we'll continue with our economic and business news. The annual report of the insurance sector for 2012 showed that the total premiums of the Syrian insurance companies reached about 16 billion Syrian pounds. As health insurance was ranked first by 5.5 billion Syrian pounds, followed by cars insurance with 4.8 billion Syrian pounds. On the other hand, the total profits value for all insurance companies reached 1 billion and 8,000 Syrian pounds for 2012. The manager of mills in Tartus Governorate asserted that the flour is available in all governorates, as the stockpiles are sufficient to meet the demands of many governorates like Daras, Weda and Damascus. He also pointed to increasing the demand of flour in all bakeries in Tartus as a result of increasing the number of displaced families, noting that the sales amount exceeded 85,900 tons with a cost of 380 million Syrian pounds. The Director General of Poultry Establishment asserted that the establishment has begun implementing the plan of reconstructing and rehabilitating the establishment's facilities, which were damaged by the terrorist acts. Moreover, the establishment signed contracts for purchasing many incubators and hatcheries to put them in the new poultry facility in Sednaya as it works to fix the oldest ones. Furthermore, the establishment is studying a draft law for establishing new sales centres in Harasta and Mazze. Finally, we stop with the exchange rates of currencies against the Syrian pound according to the Central Bank of Syria. This concludes our news bulletin for this afternoon. Thank you for watching us. For more news about Syria and the region, you can always visit our website, syriaonline.sy. God bless you and long live Syria.